What's going on, y'all? It's your man, Stephen Bardo, coming to you with another edition of Bardo's Breakdown. Hope you guys had a good weekend. Games have been a little bit slower because various schools are having finals week. And so you won't see that as many games scheduled last week and this week. These are kind of 2 weeks where non-conference play dominates, and Big Ten teams generally don't schedule tougher opponents during this time frame. Now, Indiana has been an exception. Ohio State played against North Carolina. We'll get to that in a second. So things are a little bit different this week, but let me tell you about thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you spending your time with me on this, I think, brief edition of Bardo's Breakdown, just due to the lack of games and lack of activity and people getting ready for Christmas, right? Getting ready for all the gifts and whatnot, or some of y'all might be going broke. I don't know. If you want to join the tribe, the inner circle that is Bartle's Breakdown, text me 312-847-2739. Always love to have people join. I like to drop some surprises on there. So thank you to the tribe that has signed up. Let's see. Let's get into it. All right. Team of the week. The Penn State Nittany Lions. Now, they beat Canisius by 30, but I think it's a residual from their upset victory at Champaign. That's the best victory in the Big Ten Conference so far this season. So it hasn't been a lot of Big Ten games. Some teams have played one, some teams have played two. And the Penn State game where they won at Illinois last Saturday, or a week from this past Saturday, has carried over to this week, and they held serve against Canisius in impressive fashion by 30. Jalen Pickett looks like a first-team all Big Ten performer, and Penn State seems to be doing quite well. They will open up. They've got two non-conference games against Quinnipiac and Delaware State. They open up Big Ten play as they host the Iowa Hawkeyes January 1st. Then they're at Michigan that Thursday, and then that Sunday they got to play Purdue in Philadelphia, which I was a part of a game where Penn State and Iowa played at the Palestra in Philly. It was off the chain. Unseasonably warm that day. I believe it was like 65. It was hot in the gym, and, man, it was high-level basketball. Philly fans do a great job, so that's going to be a great, great matchup, Penn State versus Purdue in Philly on the 8th, January 8th. But Penn State is our team of the week. Player of the week, Philip Rabracha at Iowa. He's been coming on, ladies and gentlemen, playing like a grown man this season. I think he's just gotten a lot more aggressive. He's got a year under his belt, and now he's come out extremely aggressive. You see the numbers there, 30 points, 9 rebounds, a career high 6 assists against SEMO. He's been very consistent this season. Just playing he was always really good. Even I believe he was at South Dakota State before he came to Iowa. He was really good, but he's been dominant this year, and the Hawkeyes have needed him up front. So that's a big ups to Philip Rabracha for his first Big Ten Player of the Week award. Outstanding effort there. The freshman of the week, Bryce Sensenbaugh. You guys may remember that when I was doing a breakdown of Ohio State in the preseason, I was saying Bryce Sensenbaugh is one of the freshmen in the Big Ten to watch out for, and he is really coming into his own quite quickly. 22 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists versus North Carolina. He hit a real tough leaner over one of the best defenders in the country, Leaky Black of North Carolina, to give Ohio State what looked like was going to be the winning bucket. I believe with 3 seconds left, puts Ohio State up by 2. North Carolina throws a baseball pass to half court, call timeout. 1.2 seconds left. They run a play, get the ball to Pete Nance. He does a turnaround jump shot, sends the game into overtime, and North Carolina wins in overtime. But Bryce Sensenbaugh was outstanding, has been really good for Ohio State this season. 22 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists. He is your Big Ten freshman of the week. Win of the week has to go to Purdue Boilermakers. And you may look at this and say, wow, why is he giving Purdue the win of the week against a Davidson team? Well, Purdue's number 1 team in the country. And if you've ever been on a number 1 team in the country, which I was for 1 week, you get everybody's best shot. So you saw that Nebraska took Penn State to overtime, and Penn State was able to hold on. And then Nebraska comes back and loses by double digits to Kansas State. So that's the power that opposing teams bring when you're playing a top 10, a top 5, but especially a AP number 1 team. Davidson was balling. They brought their A game. They really were taking advantage of some of the matchups that they had. They were smaller up front, so they were pulling Edey out defensively and driving. I thought they did an outstanding job. It was cool to see Foster Loyer, the older brother who used to be at Michigan State. He's at Davidson now, going up. Nope, got that wrong. Foster Loyer is the youngest brother at Purdue. Golly, his name escapes me. Anyway, it was fun to see the brothers go at it a little bit. But Purdue prevails against a very good Davidson team, 69-61. Zach Edey was really dominant in that performance, 29 points, 16 rebounds. Caleb First, I believe, had 11 points and 13 rebounds. Purdue was plus 17 on the glass, and they made 28 free throws to Davidson's 6. And so Davidson really played high-level basketball if you take those stats into consideration. The fact that Davidson got dominated on the glass, it got dominated at the free throw line, but yet the final score was 69-61, and it was closer than that. The Purdue kind of got some free throws down the stretch to extend the lead, but good. That was the team. That was the Big Ten win of the week for the Purdue Boilermakers. All right. Team with a few question marks. The Illinois Fighting Illini. Not only were they beaten pretty badly at home to Penn State to drop to 0-2 in Big Ten play, they beat Alabama A&M by 19. And in the post-game presser, Matthew Meyer, who was the leading scorer, 21 points, said, we've got a lot to figure out internally between the players and the coaches. Then he comes back and says, I'm just upset right now. So he plays well against Texas. I believe he had 16 of those are in the second half and overtime. Plays okay against Penn State, then comes back and plays well against Alabama A&M, and he's upset. That's going to be a problem moving forward, ladies and gentlemen. He was a coveted transfer. And so I know Brad Underwood, Illini head coach, called out the lack of leadership on his ball club. And you can infer him referring to upperclassmen. And the upperclassmen on the Illini team this season, Terrence Shannon, Matthew Meyer. So I'm not sure if this is a continuation from Underwood blasting these guys in the media. I'm not sure, but it's very surprising. I heard Coleman Hawkins was very forthcoming in some interviews done around practice, and he basically said, listen, Underwood can be tougher. He was tougher last year than he was this year on us. And so these Illini players are being very forthcoming with information, generally which is kept in the locker room. So it's kind of interesting to see how this is going to unfold. And I really am interested in hearing what some of you Illini people think about this. So we'll come back to that when I get to your comments and questions. And then, like I said, last week and this week, there's not a lot of games, but 2 games I want you to watch out for: Michigan versus North Carolina in Charlotte. I believe this might be a Jumpman Jordan brand deal situation. So it's really a home game for North Carolina being in Charlotte, but a nice test for Michigan, which has rebounded well since they've lost Jalen Llewellyn to a season-ending knee injury, and also to that loss to Kentucky. They've rebounded well. Doug McDaniel played extremely well down the stretch, hit some key buckets for Michigan to pull away from Lipscomb in their last game. And then Illinois plays Missouri on the SEC network. I believe that's that's Thursday. So Michigan, North Carolina is Wednesday. Illinois versus Missouri in the Border War game in St. Louis on the SEC network on Thursday. All right. So y'all know it's Christmas. It's not too late, y'all. Get your Flying Illini tumbler. I'm telling you, these things are really good. However it goes in, if it goes in cold, it comes out cold. If it goes in hot, it stays hot. Okay. Very cool design. I think you guys will like these. Go to shopcustomizeit.com. Customize with a K. Shop, KUSTOMIZEIT.com. Make sure you get one, guys. Great gifts. And just for the overall sports fan, because you can do a lot with these, okay? We're in college football bowl season, coming into basketball season. Make sure you pick one of these up. All right. Let me get to my people here. Let me see what folks are talking about. Hoop Scoop, why is Illinois not looking so good? What is it? It's a number of different things. And I think that you have to look at it from this standpoint. Illinois caught a very hot Maryland team before they got into their gauntlet of games. So Maryland beats Illinois on the road, which now has become a very tough place to play. Maryland's home court, when the fans are involved, when they're locked in, and they seem to be pulling for Kevin Willard, he's got this team playing really inspired basketball in spite of their 3-game losing skid, because they played a gauntlet of a schedule. Their last 5 games, I think they've been a little bit tired and worn down. But Illinois loses at Maryland at the beginning of the gauntlet where they were rested. And so there's no knock there, because Maryland's going to beat a lot of quality Big Ten teams that come into their building. The game that surprised people was the Penn State home loss. Now, Penn State is really good, to the point where I started to do a Big Ten power ranking. I just couldn't do it. I'm going to tell you who I had. It's impossible right now to do. I had Purdue 1, Wisconsin 2, Maryland 3, Penn State 4, Ohio State 5, Illinois 6, Iowa 7, Indiana 8, Michigan State 9, Iowa 10, Northwestern 11, Michigan 12, Nebraska 13, Minnesota 14. So I've got Illinois right now, the 6th best team in the Big Ten. And power rankings, my power rankings are how are teams playing currently. Yes, you take into consideration the games that they've played, who they've beaten, who they've lost to, were their home games, road games, neutral games. You take all that into consideration. Right now, I've got the Illini 6th best in the Big Ten. So it's a situation where you've got guys that you're counting on as your best players who have had 1 semester on Illinois' campus. So this isn't Trent Frazier, DeMonte Williams. It's not even Coleman Hawkins, who's been there for several years. You're depending on guys who were at different places for years, and now they're still trying to acclimate themselves not only to life in Champaign-Urbana, life on University of Illinois' campus as a student, but also dealing with Brad Underwood and his staff and the way that they want to go about doing things. There was always going to be resistance. Brad Underwood coaches hard, and he demands accountability, not like all coaches do in the Big Ten. But Brad Underwood goes hard. Like, he's really, really difficult. Like, weak cats cannot play for Brad Underwood. And so I think that if you're – and I don't know this for certain. I'm just saying what I showed earlier in that quote from Matthew Meyer, in that, listen, if you ask North Carolina right now the problems that they've had, that Pete Nance has come in, I don't think Pete Nance is it, but everybody's going through something at this juncture of the season. Believe this or not, in today's era of college basketball, coaches are re-recruiting their players right now. This is the toughest period right now for players who think that they need to be playing more or need to get more shine or should be higher in the lineup. I know it sounds crazy, but this period where school is out and now the coaches have you, they might call film session. They might go 2-a-days. It's tougher because you're spending all this time with the team, and you've got some downtime. You're not rushing to class. You're not going to meet with your advisors. You're in basketball mode strictly, right? And so some teams will send guys home. There's 3-day mandatory rest around Christmas. Different teams have to do it based on their schedule. But if you've got guys who are unhappy and they go home for Christmas and they get people talking in their ear and then they come back kind of off a little bit, it's a difficult time, ladies and gentlemen. for the best teams. Matt Painter and his coaching staff had to do the exact same thing that Ben Johnson and his coaching staff in Minnesota have to do. They have to re-recruit almost, not re-recruit, but they have to really check in with their players and gauge the temperature, because this is the period where guys get influence from outside. They get these voices, they get these noises, and then there's doubt in their mind when they come back, or even if they do come back. Some people, I hope this doesn't happen, but I wouldn't be surprised to see it. A few players transfer right at this point in time, not just in the Big Ten, but around the country. So Illinois, like some other teams, Hoop Scoop, they've got some things to figure out. They're still incorporating impact transfers, and it takes a while. But great question, and thanks for joining. Appreciate you, bro. I'm saying, bro, you could be a lady. Appreciate you very much. No, just you probably just want to come back and watch the replay. But thank you, though. I appreciate that. I appreciate the kind words and the sentiment. Is Zach Edey leader for National Player of the Year early on? Yes. Statistically dominant. Ken Palm, let me pull that up real quick. I believe he's the number one player in the country, statistically, according to Ken Palm. Let me make sure. Player stats. Ken Palm, Player of the Year. Yes, Zach Edey is leading, and it's really not close. He's number one, and then Jalen Wilson from Kansas is 2. Adama Sanogo from Connecticut is 3. Drew Timme 4 from Gonzaga. And Jalen Pickett from Penn State is number 5. So you guys heard about me singing Jalen Pickett in Penn State's praises. Jalen Pickett is number 5 right now on National Player of the Year standings, according to KenPalm.com, who is the best advanced scout, best advanced stats that I utilize. Okay? So, yes, Zach Edey is definitely that. Thank you. I got Fletcher and Foster mixed up. Fletcher, lawyer, is the oldest of the lawyer brothers. He's at Davidson, played at Michigan State. Foster is the younger brother that's balling. He didn't play very well against Davidson, but he's been balling. One of the better freshmen in the Big Ten this season. What's up, Tina Strong? Good to see you. Hope they get it together. Whatever is going on behind the scenes. Yeah, Tina, great sentiment. And I think that if you've looked at Brad Underwood's teams since he's been at Illinois, one thing is consistent, that they get better as the year goes on. Even his first year when they were struggling, they got better as the year goes on. Underwood does a really good job of getting his guys to peak at the right time. I don't see why this season would be any different. Yes, they're 0-2 in the Big Ten. There's still a ton of basketball left to be played. But thank you, Tina. Good to see you, and happy holidays. Merry Christmas to you. First break now, being able to catch. Wonderful to hear your voice. Thank you so much. I don't know why your name is not coming up. I'd love to recognize and shout you out, but thank you very much. Dion's Hoops page. When Malik Hall returns, will MSU take off? I tell you what, he is really important to what the Spartans are trying to do. And the Spartans have, hold on, let me pull this up real quick. I think the Spartans have won 3 in a row, if I'm not mistaken. Bear with me for a second. Michigan State has won 2 in a row after. So they got a great win at Penn State. They were favored to lose that game, and they ended up winning by 9. And then they took care of Brown at home by 18. And so they've got Oakland, who can be feisty. They've got Buffalo coming up on the 30th before they start resume Big Ten play with Nebraska on the 3rd. So they've got a couple interesting games coming up. Hopefully Malik Hall will return soon, because I want all these teams to be full strength, because we want to see what this Big Ten will look like when everybody is fully healthy. Who you like in Michigan UNC game? It's going to be basically a home game for North Carolina. I think North Carolina may have found themselves in overtime against Ohio State. Ohio State was really controlling the tempo in that game until North Carolina pressed down the stretch, and Ohio State's youth showed up, and they did not handle the pressure very well. North Carolina gets back in the game, forces overtime, and wins in overtime. This could be the game that wakes up those veterans like Armando Bacot, Leaky Black, Caleb Love. They could wake up after this one because they were really struggling down the stretch until their full court pressure got them back in the game. Michigan's playing better. I believe Michigan has won, I want to say 3 in a row. Michigan, where are they? Michigan's won 2 in a row. And you know, I think they're learning life without Jalen Llewellyn. Going into Charlotte's going to be a tough task, but the thing is, Michigan has played a quality non-conference slate. Arizona State, which I would not want to see Arizona State in the NCAA tournament. They're going to be a tough team to beat. Now, they play crazy sometimes. They've got 4 or 5 bucket getters, and they play hard. So Michigan lost to Arizona State, but it looked like a bad loss at the time, but it's becoming less and less of a resume buster. So they played Arizona State. They played Virginia. They had Virginia really close, and Virginia showed their senior leadership down the stretch. They lost to Virginia. They lost to Kentucky over in London. So they've played some. They're battle tested. Are the Wolverines? So I'd give North Carolina a slight edge because of that scare that they were able to overcome in a win over Ohio State. I give North Carolina a slight edge. I would not be surprised if Michigan goes in and wins that game. Good question, Dion Hoops page. I heard Myers say he is mad, then went on to say about his body. Also mentioned he's fast before the last 3 or 4 games. Sounds like coach isn't happy. Did Matt have issues with injuries at Baylor? Matt has a back issue that he brought to Illinois from Baylor. I'm not sure to the extent of if it's better, if it's worse, what's going on. But they've done a good job of keeping that kind of in-house. They haven't done a good job of keeping a lot of things in-house, but that they've done a good job of keeping in-house. So his back issue probably is going to be something he's got to manage throughout the year, and we'll see what happens. Who based just play are your top 5 players in the Big Ten? Ooh. Top 5 in the Big Ten. Top 5 players in the Big Ten. I'd have to go with right now, just off the top of my dome, who's playing the best right now? Boy, you put me on the spot. Zach Edey, Hunter Dickinson, Jalen Pickett, Penn State. I want to throw Tyler Wall in there and Chris Murray when he was healthy at Iowa. Tyler Wall, maybe Bryce Sensenbaugh, Ohio State. I'm thinking about Jameer Young at Maryland, but I think he struggled the last couple of games. So yeah, I'd say Zach Edey, Hunter Dickinson, Chris Murray before he got hurt. Jalen Pickett, Penn State. Wow, that's a good. Jed Howard, Michigan. That's my 5. So I have. No, I can't do that. Can't do that. You got me. Zach Edey, Hunter Dickinson, Jalen Pickett, locks. Chris Murray, I'll throw him in there. And then either Tyler Wall or Chucky Hepburn from Wisconsin. Wisconsin's the second best team in the league right now. So one of those guys needs to be in that mix. Great question, though. What's going on, Kevin McDuffie? Good to see you, partner. Merry Christmas, happy holidays to you. To me, Shannon Jr. is a streak shooter from three. Yes, Netta, he has been throughout his career. He's gotten better this year because of the work he put in the offseason. And what happens is guys start the season red hot, and then there's games that people get to scout. And so these coaches and these coaching staffs from opposing teams, Netta, are really good at trying to take away your first or second option. And so what's happening now, Terrence Shannon is such an explosive athlete that at first people were giving him a cushion because he'd blow by you and dunk on you. Now what's happening when the ball swings to Terrence, teams are closing out on the catch, and then they're looking for help if he goes past his original defender. So he'll adjust. But yes, he is definitely a streaky shooter. And Netta, if this is your first time on Bardo's Breakdown, welcome. 2 rules: be polite, come strong, or don't come at all. Okay, we got very knowledgeable people on this platform, so it's a lot of fun. We don't talk crap on people. We keep it clean, but we go hard with our opinions. So good to see you on here. National, what teams have impressed you the most? UConn, I think, is the best team in the country. Purdue is AP number 1, but I think the best team right now is UConn. I love Houston. Houston stubbed their toe at home. Alabama beat them at home, but Houston went into Virginia and beat Virginia, which to me will probably win the ACC conference over Duke and North Carolina this season. So I'd say UConn, Houston, outside the Big Ten, UConn, Houston, and UCLA has been resurgent lately. I know they've lost a few games, but they beat Maryland like they stole something. They also beat up on Kentucky. UCLA was thought of as a Final Four team. So the teams that impress me right now are UConn, Houston, and UCLA. Great question. Hey, what's up, Carol? How you doing? Good to see you. Yeah, I know that for some reason it's not coming up, but great. Uh-oh. I've got an echo. Let me know, guys, if I still got that echo. Man, I hate when that happens. All right, let's see. Mike Hoops page, thoughts on Michigan lately. Of late, they lost a guard, but they seem to be playing much better of late. Thoughts going to move forward. Michigan, Doug McDaniel, they settled in as their point guard, and he, like Braden Smith from Purdue, Foster Lawyer at Purdue, Sky Clark, and Jaden Epps at Illinois. Anytime you've got freshman starting point guards or lead guards, you're going to be like this. Unless they're D'Angelo Russell like when he was a freshman at Ohio State, you're going to have some up and down performances. So Doug McDaniel is outstanding. He's diminutive. He's smaller, but he's tough. He can go. He can change the pace of games. I like what they're doing. I'd like to see Michigan develop a little bit more depth, but I like the way that they're playing right now. So I still think that they could be an upper echelon Big Ten team, and there's a whole lot of basketball to be played. Kevin McDuffie talked about Jalen Pickett before anybody else in the tribe did. So big ups to Kevin McDuffie. He talked about Penn State. He talked about Jalen Pickett and what kind of season he was going to have. So big ups to Kevin McDuffie. Tribe member, by the way. If you want to join the tribe, text me 312-847-2739. Once again, if you want to be on the inner circle of Bardo's Breakdown, text me 312-847-2739. Oh, David Green, thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Salute from to you in Indianapolis. Hope you're doing well. Hope your holiday season has been all that you have hoped for and asked for. Illini have not looked good like the same team I saw in Vegas. Hope they figure out. Dory Melman Pezzerio, what's up, Dory? Good to see you, tribe member. Dory, I think that they'll work it out. They've got Missouri, then they've got Bethune-Cookman before they resume Big Ten play. That's enough time without classes. Like I was saying before, all these teams now, they can really almost have a mini training camp between some of their remaining non-conference games. They've got enough time with themselves. They can get serious practice time in. And I don't doubt that Brad Underwood will have this team ready to go when the Fighting Illini resume conference play with they're at Northwestern January 4th. So the Illini will play at Northwestern January 4th after they play Missouri and Bethune-Cookman. I'll be on the call for that Bethune-Cookman game. Curtis Dietz, Illini legend of tonight. What is Kejuan Garris up to these days? Kejuan Garris, last I saw, was doing some youth training and organization. I believe his wife is a musician and a very good one. And so Kejuan has stayed within the basketball realm. So he does training, he does camps, he does specialty events, I believe, around basketball. But the last I've heard, he's doing quite well. Ramil Connor, what's going on, Ramil? Good to see you, man. Thanks for jumping on. Mike Suit Page, Stephen Bardo, why hasn't the Big Ten won a national title since 2000? As shocked to see it's been that long. Mike, that's a great question. You generally need 3 players on your team to be future NBA players to win a national championship. That's Stephen Bardo's algorithm. You need upperclassmen backcourt, unless they're future NBA players, and you need a bench. Like I've seen teams, I think the Villanova team probably went 7 or 8 deep. The last Villanova team to win a national championship. I think you need depth to win a national championship, and you need luck. So there's 4 things. You need 3 NBA players, 3 future NBA players. You need a veteran backcourt unless one of those backcourt members is a future NBA player. You need depth and you need luck because you've got to win a 6-game tournament. And so there's a lot of things that come into play, a lot of different styles of play that you'll encounter on your way to the Final Four in the national championship. And the Big Ten has been in plenty of Final Fours, but they just have not been able to get over the hump. Here's where I think might change. Mike's Hoop Page. Here's what may change. The Big Ten is improving their officiating by leaps and bounds. No knock on the officials that were calling the majority of the games in years past, but the Big Ten did not have access to the best officials in the country. And so now those officials are starting to trickle back in to the Big Ten Conference. Now, why do I think this makes a difference? Because those said officials that I talked about, the best ones in the country that were calling games for different conferences, they're starting to call games for Big Ten Conference this season. Those are the officials that call NCAA tournament games. So the Big Ten historically in conference play, they allow teams to just beat the crap out of each other. And that's not NCAA tournament basketball. And so hopefully with the improved officiating that would be more consistent in the Big Ten Conference, that will allow teams to find the consistent way that the games will be called in the tournament so that when they get to the tournament, it's not such a shock. You don't get your best player with 2 fouls with 17 minutes to go in the first half. That's a recipe for an upset. And that's what we've seen in years past with Big Ten teams. Either they're tired because the Big Ten Conference tournament is too late, in my opinion. It needs to end a day early like the Big 12. I believe the SEC, some of the other teams end on Saturday. It's not going to change because there's too much money involved with the television networks, but I'd like to see it change because that winner, the teams that get to the final game of the Big Ten Conference tournament, they play on Sunday, and sometimes they have to turn around and maybe fly west and play on a Thursday. So let's consider this. You play the game, win or lose, you're in Indianapolis until 7 or 8 p.m. Sunday night. Depending on where you go home, let's say you get home and you get down by 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. You got to go to class Monday. So you got to go to class, and then you gotta work out, try to get your stuff together. Tuesday, maybe go to class, work out, then you're flying to the venue. So that extra day, people think doesn't make a difference. At the end of a grueling season and a grueling conference tournament, it makes a big difference. Okay. So Big Ten teams are disadvantaged from that point because of the tournament and the way that the tournament is structured. Now, this is my opinion. I'm just saying. All right. So that's why I think that that's happened. And I think that the conference realizes this. They're taking steps to address this. They're not gonna take steps to lessen the television money. You can forget that. You're not gonna see any changes to the Big Ten conference tournament. That's not gonna happen. But thanks for that question. Mel Hewlett, one of Carbondale's finest. What's up, Mel? Buffalo is dangerous in one of those pits. Hopefully that game is not a neutral site. No, Buffalo is at Michigan, I believe. Let me just make sure. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's Michigan State. You're right, Mel. Buffalo is tough. They're very good historically, especially under Nate Oates. I think they're still somewhat of a fast break team. They're out of the MAC, the Mid-American Conference, which is one of the more physical conferences in the country. So it's not going to be a gimme. You're right about that. And good to see you, Mel. Merry Christmas, happy holidays to you. Sorry now, my man is showing up. Have you ever crossed paths with Aaron Torres? I see he and JJ Redick are having words with each other. I don't know who Aaron Torres is. And no, I don't know who that is, Curtis. Monty Williams, your boy Marcus Liberty got a podcast called All Ball Chicago. You got to get on there if you haven't already. But you're doing an amazing job. Keep it up. Moni, thank you. Yeah, I've been on All Ball Chicago with Marcus and Robert. And, yeah, they do a great job. Marcus has been on here. They do a great, great job. Loudest Big Ten arena you call the game in. The loudest is Mackey Arena, Purdue University. Simon Scott Assembly Hall in Indiana is close. The Breslin Center in Michigan State, when it gets rocking, is close. Carver Hawkeye used to be. It doesn't have the same fervor as it did 30 plus years ago when I was playing. It used to be crazy in that place. It's not quite the same. And I would say that's about Pinnacle Bank Arena can get loud in Nebraska. It can get loud, but I'd say the loudest is Mackey Arena at Purdue. Which Big Ten coach do you tend to identify more with? Ooh, Mel, that's a great question. Which Big Ten coach do you tend to identify more with? Identify. Can you clarify that, Mel? Clarify that. If you're still on, can you clarify that, please? Joe Stovall, Illini is suffering from noseritis, meaning no one wants to be a role player. Sometimes you can have too much talent, and all those veteran transfers are not mixing with the 4 5-star players. Meyer has found his shot and has caused Shannon to force a lot of shots. Epps and Clark are both good enough to start. Epps wants to get buckets every time he gets the ball. Missouri game will tell a lot about Big Ten schedule moving forward. What's up, Joe? Joe Stovall, tribe member, comes strong all the time. So, Joe, you think that there's too much talent on the Illini team and that certain guys need to embrace roles more than they're doing? Legitimate comment here. When you talk about Epps and Clark are both good enough to start, yes, they are. And Epps is a scorer. Jaden Epps is a bona fide scorer. He can score in a phone booth. Sky Clark is good enough to start as well. And I knew that Brad Underwood was going to have some problems keeping all these guys happy, right? They've got so much depth. They've got so much talent. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, Luke Goody is out. He'll be back in January, and he's going to play because Underwood loves him. He can stretch the floor. He's a great leader. He's a willing defender. He's 6'7". So if they think they got chemistry issues now, there's going to be more coming. So great point, Joe, as always. Thank you, brother. Illini will need to play hard. Missouri and Northwestern will not be cupcakes. Dory, you know this. Missouri's never a cupcake, and they're 10-1 right now. I don't think their schedule is as difficult as Illini's have been in the non-conference, and they got blasted at home by Kansas. But heck, who isn't getting blasted by Kansas right now, playing as well as anybody in the country? So you're right. The Illini will have to play hard, but we'll see what happens. Okay, Tina, thank you for that update. I appreciate that. Derek Tyshawn Breland. What's up, Derek? Why DePaul still struggling in the Big East, you think? Is it recruiting? Well, here's the thing, Derek, with DePaul. DePaul's missing 3 of their best players. Nick Ongenda, 7-footer. Yor Ane, 6'10", 6'11", very athletic. And the guard that hasn't played yet broke his hand. I think he's got a broken hand or something. Very, very talented. They're missing 3 of their best players. It's hard. And DePaul has not had a cupcake schedule. They've had a challenging schedule, so it's difficult. And I think Tony Stubblefield has brought in a nice collection of transfers. He's also trying to bring in some high school players. And I think that's the kind of way that you have to rebuild a program that's been down like DePaul has for a while. So I think that injuries have really hurt them, Derek. And I think that once they can get healthy, then let's reassess where DePaul is maybe mid to late January when they get some of these guys back, and let's see what kind of ball they're playing then. Good to hear from you, Derek. Thanks for joining, my man. Boy, you missed a good time. We were at Gene Cross's house yesterday. You missed a good time. The Fabulous Foursome was getting it in, baby. Let's see. Carol Paquette says, I do not have good feelings going into the bragging rights game. She's talking about the Illini versus Missouri game. Not a game I like. Fans split down the middle. Oh, it's great, Carol. What are you talking about? The obvious is the way the Illini are playing, then add on only players who have actually played in the border wars, Hawkins and Melendez. A positive, we do not have to worry about Javen Pickett, who doesn't miss again against the Illini. Good point. I think they'll be okay. Brad Underwood and those guys will relay how important this game is. I love that game. I think it's one of the best ones in the country. And Carol's right. If you've never been to a border war game, they do a great job in the it's not the Kiel, it's the Savage. I don't even think it's the Savage Center anymore. It's the arena in St. Louis. Right down the middle, there's a line of delineation. It's black and gold on one side and orange and blue on the other. The cheerleaders go at it in battle. It's a fun time. It's a great game. It's on the SEC network this season, which is a little disappointing because it's not, if you don't have SEC network, it might be tough to get. You might have to go, figure out how to do it, but it's a great game. So I love the game. And I was 4-0 as a player and as a broadcaster with the Illini. I did not, in the games that I was calling Illinois radio and doing television for ESPN and Big Ten Network, I think I've seen the Illini plus the games I played. So that's around 13 or 14 games. 4 I played and about 8 to 10 that I covered via radio or television. I've only seen the Illini lose twice. So great game, lots of fun. If you get a chance, go check it out, man. It's a bucket list. If you haven't seen it. Melissa, do you like Ohio State? I do like Ohio State, Melissa. They are a little bit of a surprise because I did not expect Bruce Thornton, the freshman point guard out of Georgia. I knew Bryce Sensabaugh was going to be good. I called that in the preseason. I didn't know he was going to be this good this early. Akpara played well against North Carolina, 6'11" freshman center. And you couple that with Zed Key up front, who's been playing inspired basketball. You've got Justice Suing, who was a solid player. Sean McNeil, I think, has kind of struggled a little bit. He hasn't found his way. But I do like Ohio State. And I think Chris Holtmann is one of the best coaches in the country. So, yes, I do like Ohio State. I have them 5th in my power ranking, the one that I wouldn't put out publicly because it's too hard right now. But I do like Ohio State a lot. And Melissa, if this is your first time on Bardo's Breakdown, welcome. Thanks for joining, and happy holidays to you. Curtis Deeds, I don't think Big Ten has had an elite team to win it since OSU, Mike Conley, and Greg Oden team. I think that was 2008, and they lost to Florida. Wait a minute now. Come on, Curtis. Michigan team with Mo Wagner that got to the championship against Villanova. That wasn't an elite team. I beg to differ. The Wisconsin teams, Frank the Tank Kaminsky, Sam Decker, lost to Duke in the national championship game. That wasn't an elite team. I beg to differ. The Big Ten has had some elite teams in the Final Fours. They just haven't gotten over the hump because whoever they're playing, they have more future NBA guys. I'm telling you, go back and look, and you'll see what I'm talking about. I just hopped on over at the other Bardo's Breakdown page. The only time your voice echoes when okay. Ron Charles, what's good, man? Despite a few losses of late overall, what's your thoughts on Mike Woodson and the job he's done in Indiana? I think he's done a really good job, Ron, and thanks for joining Bardo's Breakdown. Appreciate you tuning in. I think he's done a good job. And the fact that if you were to look at this season, Indiana was the preseason favorite in the Big Ten, and he's in his second season. Now, he inherited some ballers, Trace Jackson Davis, Race Thompson, Xavier Johnson, right? He inherited some good players, but he's also brought in Jalen Hood-Schifino, Malik Renew, C.J. Gunn, Callaway, Tamar Bates, who's been a little disappointing to me. I thought he'd have a breakout season. He's been a little underachieving to me, but I think Mike Woodson's done a really good job. Now, the fact that they got blasted by Kansas, they got blasted by Arizona, I think it shows some of the areas where they're not as complete as they looked early on in the pre-conference slate. When you're going up against elite teams, if you've got a lack of depth, which Indiana doesn't, they've got very good depth. If you've got a lack of outside shooting, which I think the lack of outside consistent shooting against high majors, that's been an issue for Indiana. And I think that showed. I also think that they just got jumped at Allen Fieldhouse in Kansas. Like I said, Kansas is playing as well as anybody in the country. But the way that they lost is a little disturbing. Even with Xavier Johnson going down with that foot injury in the first half, you still want to see that Indiana team being more competitive. They got dominated in the paint against Arizona and Kansas, and Indiana's thought of as having one of the more elite front courts in the country. You can't get dominated that badly in the front court with Race Thompson and Trace Jackson Davis and Malik Renew. It's not supposed to happen. So that's the lack of outside shooting and the fact that they got dominated in the paint the last two games are a concern moving forward. But I'd give Coach Woodson an A to this point because he's got the fan base excited once again. Screw what Dan Dockage says about whatever Dan Dockage is saying, throwing shade at Indiana and at Mike Woodson. He sounds like a bitter man to me, a guy that wanted to coach Indiana, and Indiana was smart enough not to hire his silly ass. So don't read into that too much. But Ron Charles, if this is your first time joining Bardo's Breakdown, thanks for joining and welcome, and Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to you. Curtis, it's usually 6 p.m. Monday. I may start changing that. I may go earlier in the day to get it done because I bump during conference play. I'm going to bump into games. I don't want to do that. I want to get this in before the games come on, so I'm not interrupting any Big Ten games. So it will more than likely be 3 or 4 p.m. I'll make an announcement, but I think it's going to be 3 or 4 p.m. Mondays. Okay. Marcus Howard. What's good, Marcus? Good to see you, man. Merry Christmas to you as well. Thanks for jumping on. Man. What's good, Steven? I see you went to high school in Illinois. Did you ever cross paths or know the late, great Ben Wilson? Man. Yes, I did know Ben. Played at Chicago Simeon High School. I I think if Ben Wilson would not have been murdered, our Illini teams may have won 2 national championships. I probably would not have been the starting point guard. Well, Lou Henson, I don't think, had the foresight to put Benji at the point, but that would have been his best position. So I probably would have played point guard, but somebody, Kendall or Nick or Kenny Battle or Lowell, one of us wouldn't have been starting because Ben Wilson was a bona fide pro, one of the best players in high school history in the city of Chicago, and that's saying something. So, yes, I knew of Ben, and it was tragic and really affected everyone in the Chicago area and around the country for that matter. Do you still have your Flight 35 Illini shirt? I thought you had a site where we could purchase one. I took that down. I have them. If you DM me, I can send you a shirt. We can do that, okay? Because that T-shirt business as a solo person, a solo producer is I found that to be difficult with all that I've got going on. Which Big Ten coach strikes you as more an inspiring leader and someone who impresses you from a tactical perspective? See, Mel, you trying to get me in trouble, man. All the coaches in the Big Ten are tactical wizards. Even Minnesota right now, with them they've been banged up. They're young. Ben Johnson can coach. And all these guys are really, you can go up and down the line. They're all really good in-game adjustment guys, game prep guys. So I can't give the nod to one. Maybe Tom Izzo being the tactical leader. He's probably, I'd say he's the best. In-game adjustments, tactical guy. I'd probably give him a slight edge. An inspiring leader, someone who impresses you from an inspirational person. Oh, that's a good one. Inspirational. Golly, Mel. Let me think about that one. Yeah, let me think about that one. If Lou Goody wasn't hurt, he would have been the leader of this team. He is a natural. He would have been a leader. I don't think he would have been the leader. Tough question. Best Big Ten coach of all time, Bobby Knight or Tom Izzo? Bobby Knight, hands down. Hoop scoop. That's not a tough one for me. Bob Knight had great talent during the 70s and early 80s, but in the mid to late 80s, he didn't have the talent pool that he had earlier on, and he still won a national championship. He had guys that started that Indiana fans can't name the starting center on the 87 Big Ten Conference or the 88, was it 87 or 88? I think it was 88 Big Ten, no, 89 Big Ten Conference champions. Most people can't name the starting center. That the team in 87 that won a national championship had Keith Smart, Steve Alford, Dean Garrett, oh man, Thomas, who passed away, Daryl Thomas, and I want to say Eric from Chicago, Eric Anderson, was he on that team? But the fact that I can't rip off 5 NBA guys, Bob Knight won with so many different types of players and styles. And what really took it over the top for me, Hoop Scoop, was when Indiana played UNLV in a Final Four game. And everybody in the country thought Indiana's going to slow the game down on UNLV. Shoot. Bob Knight said, we're going to run them out the gym. That's exactly what Indiana did. 97-93 victory in a Final Four game? Are you kidding me? Indiana scores 97 points. And earlier in that tournament run, I believe it was the second round of Sweet 16 game, they won in the 50s or 60s. So you win a game, you win a tournament game in the 50s, and you won a tournament game damn near scoring 100 points with a roster that, was good, but their sum was the sum total was way better than their parts. So Bobby Knight's the best coach of all time in the Big Ten, and it's not even close to me. Oh, okay, that's Enterprise Center in St. Louis. Thank you, Joe. I agree with Joe. Simeon Fuller. The Illini needs to lock in on defensive rebound. Also, Coleman needs to step up and look to shoot the ball. Simeon, I agree with Coleman. I think Coleman turns down way too many looks. And I know he's trying to set his teammates up and everything, but he can set his teammates up better, in my opinion, if why is that showing up like that? It would look a lot better to me for Coleman to really look for a shot more so than to set his teammates up. But great points there. Let me get through some of these. Lauren Foster, happy holidays. Thank you, Coach. I appreciate you. Merry Christmas, happy holidays to you. Jawan Howard's getting your guys right. Michigan starting to turn the corner. I think we're going to see them play better. I love the border war game. Okay. What about the Michigan team with Trey Burke? Didn't they get to the title game against Louisville? There you go. Another quality Big Ten team, Trey Burke. Thank you, man. Rayfield Davis, what is your take on Michigan? We were just talking about Michigan. I think they're trending in the right direction. Rayfield Davis, Purdue, great. My teammate and fellow Big Ten brethren does a great job on Big Ten Network. I think Michigan is trending in the right direction. I think they were thought of too highly in the pre-conference, Rayfield, but I think that they're getting better. Doug McDaniel, though, will have his nights as a freshman starting guard in the Big Ten. Michigan and Wisconsin were great college teams, but not the NBA talent as OSU had. I was at the Final Four 2014, 2015 when Wisconsin made it. Sam Decker was a first-round draft pick. Frank Kaminsky was a first-round draft pick. I don't know. I think they had pretty good talent. I'm just saying. Greg Oden was a great name. He got drafted high, but he didn't have a great career because he had injuries. So, I don't know, Curtis. I'm going to disagree with you on that. Thank you, Simeon Fuller. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you as well. Hype Baller Hoops. Steve Bart, I think Michigan State team is solid, not great, but remember they lost Marble and a few other players. But my question is, Tom Izzo's reluctant not to dive into the transfer portal, maybe hurting them. I know they're solid, but for some reason, Tom, while great, he is stubborn at times. Yes, he is stubborn. I agree with you. He may have a philosophical reason. He doesn't want to dive into the transfer portal. Who knows? He may not want to be in the NIL sweepstakes. Who knows? But until it doesn't work, because Michigan State has the longest run of consecutive NCAA tournament appearances to Kansas in the country. So until it doesn't work, I'm not going to question Tom Izzo. But your points are duly noted and well taken. I don't disagree with you that he may be stubborn, may not want to deal with it, but I'm not going to question him because he's been very successful. Is it true in Europe that only one American player can be on a team? No. In Europe, one American can play. I thought it was two Americans on. No, it's as many Americans as you want now. But only, I'm not even going to guess, Curtis, because I don't know. I don't know that yet at this point because I haven't checked in. Julian Darnell, thank you. Ricky Callaway was on the Indiana team. That was the guy I was missing. Yep. Eric Boo Man Johnson. What's up, Eric? The Big Ten, I tell my kids during the time with Big Dog Robinson, Fab Five, Calbert Cheney, Jim Jackson, Sean Respert. I'm sure I'm missing many, but wasn't that one of the times in the Big Ten? Eric, yes, it was, but you're forgetting, baby, the time right before that. You talking about there were 2 national championships in the Big Ten in my 4 years. Indiana in 87, and Michigan in 89, right? And a plethora of Big Ten teams got to the tournament. And in my junior and senior years alone, there's 17 NBA first and second round draft picks. So, yes, this era that you're referencing was good, but it came off the greatest era of Big Ten basketball, which was the 4 years that I was there. So, yes, Eric Booman Johnson, welcome, brother. Thank you for joining. Happy holidays to you. Merry Christmas, Thomas Dagley. Good to see you. Watching Denzel Valentine his last few years in the Big Ten, are you surprised his struggles to stay in the NBA? I guess I thought he could be a Draymond-type player. Well, Eric, fair question. And here's what I'd say about that. Denzel Valentine is a really solid point guard, but athletically, I'm not sure he can create the space that he needed to play his position. He's a bigger point guard. And so, size-wise, he's on the bigger side, but athletically, that NBA is on another level. And I just think that athletically is where Denzel struggles to stay in the NBA at that upper echelon level. It's the difference between college and the NBA is night and day. It's really two different games. They're playing the same game technically, but it's just two different games. Athleticism, the length, the speed at which it closes off the floor is incredible. So no knock to Denzel, but that NBA is just a different level. All right. Well, guys, this was a great one. We got some new people in and all that good stuff. So thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate you guys coming on. If you want to join the inner circle that is Bardo's Breakdown, text me 312-847-2739. I won't blow you up. I promise. And if you want to be a part of the email list, which I sent out earlier today, people seem to really like the email list. StephenBardo.com/college-basketball-newsletter. StephenBardo.com/college-basketball-newsletter. Join, ladies and gentlemen. You will not be disappointed. All right. Thanks for watching. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays to all of you all. Be safe. Check on your loved ones. Check on those men that say that they're really tough and strong, because all of us struggle from time to time. Okay. Check on those people that you think are doing okay. Check on all your loved ones. Tell them that you love them and don't take them for granted. They call it the present for a reason, because it's the present. Okay. Love you all. Take care. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Peace, y'all.